Hi, I'm Cheryl Harshman. I'm a retired children's librarian and university librarian, and I'm currently on the board of the Ohio County Public Library. Banned books and the fight against censorship has been very important to me for decades. This is a dangerous time for readers and public servants who provide access to reading materials. Readers, particularly students, are losing access to critical information, and librarians and teachers are under attack for doing their jobs. The American Library Association. Banned Books Week was started in 1982 in response to the sudden surge in the number of challenges to books in libraries, bookstores, and schools. By focusing on efforts to remove or restrict access to books, Banned Book Week draws national attention to the harms of censorship. Typically held during the last week of September, the annual event highlights the value of free and open access to information and brings together the entire book community, librarians, educators, publishers, booksellers, and readers of all stripes, in shared support of the freedom to seek and express ideas. In a time of intense political polarization, library staff in every state are facing an unprecedented number of attempts to ban books. The American Library Association has documented 1,247 demands to censor library books and resources last year in 2023. It's even more this year. The number of titles targeted for censorship surged 65% in 2023 compared to the year before that, reaching the highest levels ever documented by ALA in more than 20 years of their tracking. 4,240 unique book titles were targeted for removal from schools and libraries. Now more than ever is the time to read some banned books and see what were they thinking about banning particular books. Why can't we have all kinds of materials for all kinds of people and all kinds of needs? America is becoming more and more diverse and interesting, quite frankly, and so we need to have the same sorts of materials available for everyone, our toddlers, our young adults, and yes, even old retired librarian ladies. I brought two of my favorite banned and challenged children's books that these days we look back and say, what on earth were they thinking when Max wore his wolf suit of one kind and another? Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. The night that Max wore his wolf suit and got into mischief of one kind and another, his mother said, "You wild thing." And Max said, "I'll eat you up." So he went to bed without eating anything. That very night in Max's room, a forest grew and grew and grew until his ceiling hung with trees and vines, and the walls became the world all around. And an ocean tumbled by with a very private boat for Max, and he sailed off through night and day, and in and out of weeks and over a year to where the wild things are. And when he came to a place where the wild things are, they rolled their terrible eyes and they roared their terrible roars and they gnashed their terrible teeth until Max said, "Be still." And he tamed them with a magic trick of staring into their yellow eyes without blinking once. And they were frightened. And they called him the most wild thing of all. And they made him the king of all the wild things. "And now," said Max, Let the wild rumpus begin. Now stop, said Max, and he sent the wild things off to bed without their supper. And Max, the king of all the wild things, was lonely, and he wanted to be somewhere where someone loved him best of all. And then all around, from far away across the world, he smelled good things to eat. So he gave up being king of the wild things. But the wild things cried, "Oh, please don't go. We'll eat you up. We love you so." And Max said, "No." The wild things roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. But Max stepped into his boat and said goodbye. And he sailed back, in and out of days and over a year, and through a day, and into the night of his very own room. And that's where he found his supper was waiting for him, and it was still warm. My favorite banned book. Another one that I love is also an ancient book, like Where the Wild Things Are. This is The Bridge to Terabithia, and this is for an older child, because Max would never sit still to have this read to him. Terabithia is about friendship and adventure and imagination and death and grief and suffering. Now, why was it banned? Oh, because it's too much emotion for our children. We shouldn't have to talk to them about grief and death and how other people might believe and have faith in other things, other religions, other ways. It was banned because it was open to lots of interpretation. But how can you ban a book about love and death and grief? Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Patterson. Read a banned book. Thank you.